it looks like it has an aggressive angle going into the feeder. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And his concern was loading the filaments if the angle's too aggressive, whether or not it would have any issues. When I first told it to print, I'd not pushed the filament in. Okay. And so it tried to print this thing initially with no filament. It didn't even think about it. It's just printing nothing. Okay.
There's nothing.
And so I stopped it. I went back and I loaded the filament, and it didn't even feel like the filament caught, but it pulled it right through with no issues whatsoever. Okay. Um, the Cheaty, when I change the filament, it has to go in and then push past the feeder in order for it to actually take in the filament. So you'll know when you actually go to load it whether or not it's even going to load. Because if you don't feel it catch and then push past, you know it didn't make it past. You have to cut it at like a 45-degree angle to have a sharp edge, so it'll push past the feeder and actually get through. This thing, I did no cutting. All I did was push it through, and where it wouldn't go any further, it just grabbed it and pulled it right through. It's like, okay.
Nice.
So far, my only complaint was how scared I was when the thing was when it sounded like it was gonna explode.
Yeah.
Because it got loud, and it was just ramping up, and it was getting louder and louder and louder.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I don't remember who it was, but there was one other person whose review I watched of it that did comment on that it had a super long initial setup. But then I mean, to me though, that's not really a big deal because it's all automatic.
Mm-hmm.
If it was something that I had to keep intervening in, like if you had to keep checking a bunch of things and saying, yes, does this thing, or yeah, I see that this has moved or whatever, then that would irritate me that it's that long.
Yeah.
But for like a completely automatic one, I'm fine with it taking half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, it took a long time. I had to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, if I had taken the time to make sure that the filament was in place, it would have finished the setup completely without me having to do anything. But I was so excited to get everything going, I didn't even think about pushing the filament up into the thing. Um,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's a side loader for the filament in and of itself is a great thing, because like with the Cheaty, I had to print out an arm that's attaches to the top and hangs off the side to side load filament into it, because its filament loader, the arm is actually above the machine, and so you have to reach over the machine, keep it from overspinning when you're loading in new filament, and your arms are exhausted by the time you finally get everything in place and done. uh this thing, it's just on the side. When I was ready to pull it through, I just you know straightened out the end, pushed it in, and that was it. Like, okay.
Nice.
It was so easy.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to getting one later. Because I have decided it's like, and I think I'll keep my mini
Mm-hmm.
until I can get a multicolor box for the yellow goo.
That makes sense.
And then at that point, I'll just trade it out. And then at that point, it's like, okay, then I'll probably have to ask the wife. I'll be like, should I get rid of this other one? Do we sell it, or do I end up just keeping it because you want to keep it? Because sometimes she does that.
Well, I mean, I could see it becoming her printer, and you just switch over to the Elegoo. You know,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she still prints a lot of stuff, so
that's what I'm saying. And
she probably
she's got
prints
a
as much as I do.
she's got her own business. Plus, you said
Mm-hmm.
she likes to give away a lot of the stuff for that charitable cause, which is great. Okay, in that scenario, it would make sense for her to have her own printer, um,
Mm-hmm.
especially once you get the Etsy shop going. Because if you do start selling stuff, you're going to have to monopolize the machine. You know,
Yeah, that's true.
so it just makes sense that if you do have a second printer, that you each just have your own.
The Etsy shop still worries me.
Why?
Just because I know I'm going to have to really look at what models I offer because it has such a weird proclivities with different types of prints. So I can never tell what it's until I actually print it. I don't know what it's going to print well and what it won't print well.
True.
Because like this, if I was trying to sell these like Terminator skulls or whatever, I don't know if people would buy them if I had such a long list of caveats with like their weird quality stuff,
Well,
or if I would want to take all of the time that it would take to post process this into like a smooth model.
I was thinking about it, and starting tomorrow, I'm going to start a daily vlog that I'm going to post on YouTube, talking about what I'm working on, um, if I get any sales, customer reactions, things like that. And it's going to be short videos, like no more than 5 to 10 minutes. Just showing what the printers are doing, talking about the shop, and you know. But what I was thinking was next weekend, assuming that we're both available for next weekend. The weekend after, I'm not going to be available, but because it's my daughter's birthday and we're going to Universal. But
Okay.
I'm thinking next weekend, what might be a good idea is if we set up tools that we either are using or should be using for our processing. Um, because I have a bunch of tools I have yet to start employing that I should be using for post processing, and actually discuss, why we got them, what they're supposed to be used for, um, how we have used them, reasons we haven't, stuff like that, and actually, because that's one aspect we've kind of danced around, but we really haven't done anything with. So, especially for people who are less experienced than us, which we're so inexperienced, we're moving away from complete and total novices into like just plain novices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um,
I could see that.
and so like anyone who's uh, at that entry level that we were, not too long ago, having to put considerations into, oh, should I get this? Do I think that I'm going to need this? You know, uh, just like what we've experienced up to that point. So I'm thinking next week is a tool week. Uh, what do you think?
Yeah, I could do that. I
Awesome.
could show off my repurposed toolkit of things.
And also talking about like spare parts that either came with the machines or that we've purchased, just in case or because we've needed them. Um, like I bought rubber feet for the bamboo, and it came in a set of 8. And I
Ooh,
don't know where the other 4 are, but this thing actually uses the same rubber feet. So if I can find them, I could incorporate them into this printer, which would be
yeah,
great because the desk it's sitting on shakes like it's afraid it's going to get murdered. Okay, while the things go, it is vibrating so heavily. The fact that it's able to print like it is, if you saw what the desk is doing right now, it would blow your mind.
yeah. I had to add sandbags to my to my little thing that I've got. It's a it's an old entertainment center actually that thing's currently sitting on. But I had to sandbag the bottom of it just so it would be stable enough to resist all the momentum.
I was actually thinking of taking these 2 filing cabinets I have off to the side here and planting them on either side of the legs, to reduce some of the movement.
Yeah, sandwich it in there a little bit.
Yeah, and actually put like padding in between so that it doesn't bang into them, but they do reduce the overall movement. That's one thought that I have. I was also thinking of reinforcing the center of the table. Um, so like if the sides don't move, and then the middle of the table has a stronger support, because this is a small machine, but it is actually kind of stocky. Um,
Hmm.
it was surprisingly heavy.
Yeah,
It is definitely heavier than the bamboo. Um, I mean, obviously, nothing's as heavy as that Cheaty. That Cheaty is a commercial grade machine, and
yeah,
it weighs every bit of. It's like I think 80 pounds or 85 somewhere in there. Stupid heavy. Once I got it where it is, I said to myself, unless I need to, this thing is never moving. Okay, I can move the
yeah.
table.
Oh, he's. I bet that's from my. Oh yeah, he's in my chat. So yes.
Oh, okay.
It's a weird thing with the Twitch Together feature for some reason.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I'm looking, I see your logo on the far left in the chat, so I know I should have known it was in yours.
Yeah,
Um, so all right. Well, I mean, it is what it is. I don't know. There,
it's all pristine on my screen, but yeah, in OBS too. It's like when I put it in as the source for some reason, it has a much lower bit rate.
as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and I did not open your Twitch for myself, so let me go ahead and open that so I can see it. Oh wow, I am super blurry in that. Wow,
It's pretty pixelated. I even
wow.
like focused a little bit ago. I selected that window just so it would be the focus.
Hmm.
I was hoping maybe it would dedicate more bandwidth to it or something, but
Well,
I'll have to look into that.
I decided for myself that I wanted to try and see if I could do enhanced broadcasting of sorts on my channel this week. So
Mhm.
um, and actually, let me see. It says I'm live. Watch now, but it's not showing my stream on my channel. I wonder if it's because I'm pushing out a too big a resolution. Let's see. I'm gonna refresh. Oh wait, no, there I am. There I am. And then what's my max settings here? Oh, it's only pushing me out at 720 because for my screen I'm putting out at 1440. So I was curious, what it would do because again I'm using Meld. I'm not using OBS Studio.
It was a little bit different, huh?
Yeah. So all right. Well, I mean, I was checking it out, and there's a fair bit of delay on my stream for me, which I'm kind of surprised about since it's only pushing out 720. Hmm. Very interesting. All right. So anyway, let me go back to this.
I'm
Meld.
messing with dimensions right now.
Yeah, because I actually like watching our interaction on Meld better than watching it on my stream because there's no delay for you on my screen when I'm watching it this way.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I have my OBS just in the primary monitor, so I just watch from that.
Okay. So before we get into what we printed, I did say last week I was going to have a major announcement, and I do have a couple of announcements, but one of them I have to push back because something I thought was going to be ready this week is not ready. Um, Actually, two things I thought were going to be ready are not ready. But the major announcement for this week, though, is this.
Oh, it just shifted.
So my printer number 3, my Centauri Carbon, is here, and it's up and running,
Yeah.
and it has been printing, rather nice, rather nice stuff. Um, I'm not going to show all the stuff I printed yet, but so I just finished an Eiffel Tower. It's currently printing another Eiffel Tower, so you can see the process. Let's see if I can. Gotta try and get this focused. Gotta cover up my face to do that. There we go. Lots of detail. Looks really, really good. No supports used. Okay.
Pretty nice.
But the first thing I printed was this thing, which is awesome. It's one of these
Oh yeah.
infinity cubes where you can just
Yep.
constantly reshape them and everything. And
Yeah, but one of my wife's favorite fidgets to print was one of those.
this is the first time I've printed one. And this thing is so clean and it just won't. I mean, it basically moves itself. It's moving so cleanly. So super excited about that. Those are the two prints I've completed so far, and you can see it's currently printing another Eiffel Tower just because I thought it would look good in the background of the stream.
Oh yeah.
But
Good backdrop.
I thought so. All right, so let's go ahead and hop into what you printed this week. Um, Start with talking about any failures you had, and then get into like what your successes.
I have a couple examples of failures. This is the same part that failed a few times, so I had to try and make them a bunch. So here's one of them. This was supposed to be an eye stock for a Terminator head that I
Oh,
have printed out.
okay.
but it failed. A few of them I've got just like
Just a little bit.
sprung apart, and like they got not very far. This one got like more than halfway done.
Okay.
You can see.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah.
But yeah, that was I think 4 attempts before I could get them to stay. I had to keep changing and making the brims wider and wider
Mm-hmm.
so that they wouldn't just knock them off. And then I have most of this glued together. It's not entirely together yet because it wasn't until I printed the whole skull that I found that there's probably a piece that was supposed to be modeled for this that he did not model, which is to attach the jaw.
Oh no.
But the skull itself,
Oh, look at
very
that.
cool. Yeah, like the little the black sockets for the eyes and then the red
Yes.
caps are all
Yeah.
printed separate, and these little detailed inserts were separate as well. So I printed those. They're hard to see.
It looks
They look more
really
dark on
clean.
this.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it's
Wow.
so these pieces were. It's a black and white dual color silk filament that my
Mm-hmm.
wife had. So I picked that because it kind of looks, depending on how the light catches it a little bit down here. I have it lower, and it looks like a gunmetal almost, and it's shiny.
Yeah.
So, because in the original model, they were just the same color as the skull. And I was like, well, that's a lot of just plain silver. I didn't want the whole thing to be nothing but silver and then just have red eyes. So I printed those little side pieces out in that silk. And then there's little like attachment pieces that I had to print again. I tried printing them in that same silk, but they don't hold. But it's to attach the jaw. And then they kind of go like on the mouth where
Right.
they kind of join between the upper and lower jaws.
Mm-hmm.
And it does look pretty cool. But in the silk filament, they were so weak and they're really tiny parts
Yes.
that they just kept breaking. Even if I got the supports off of them okay,
Right.
trying to attach them to themselves, I would break them.
Okay.
So I printed them again, but in just the regular silver filament, and I'm hoping that those are strong enough. But they just finished like 30 or 40 minutes ago, and then I didn't feel like trying to glue this all together because I think I might try to make something to go through this because the jaw has these holes in it, and there is an identical shape on the skull, but there's no part that goes there in the plans.
That's so
And I
weird.
was like, well, whoever designed this initially definitely wanted something to attach there. And it would hold it in place way better than those thin little pieces that glue in. So I might try my hand at kind of sticking it back in the slicer and
Mhm.
using the measure tool to measure how big those are and try to like make a pin that is that size.
That makes sense. Yeah.
I don't know if I can do it because they're not perfect squares. They're kind of, they're a little off square.
Okay.
They're
Yeah.
a rhombus sort of shape.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do that exactly, but I'm going to try just so I have a stronger point there. Either I do that or basically I hold that jaw on really tight with a bunch of glue
Right.
and wait till it sets. But I was like, I would like to have that pin. That would be cool. Yeah, most of the detail on this turned out great.
It
There's of
really
course
did.
just at the very top you have layer lines.
I mean, unless you
Uh,
do ironing on the top, it's going to come out like that.
and the A1 Mini is really bad at ironing. I
Oh.
found out it doesn't really do anything.
Okay.
I've I tried it on a couple things and I can't tell the difference. So I don't know that it actually does it very well. But other than that, it's really maybe trying to reposition it would help.
Yeah.
But just the skull piece, not all the other ancillary pieces that go onto it, was 28 hours. So I didn't want to reprint it to just try a different orientation.
Okay.
And it also showcases the biggest weak point, I think, of the A1 Mini, which is when it prints anything on a support structure, that is how it turns out. So the whole underside, had supports all over,
Yeah.
and that is basically the print quality that you get onto a support structure.
That is a little rough, but I
It's
mean,
very rough.
luckily it's on the bottom. You know.
Yeah, and
Like.
I was a little upset about it when I pulled all the supports off, but then I was like, it's going to be sitting like this, and
Mhm.
it has a jaw, and then it has a stand that goes underneath it as well.
Right.
Once I glue it all together, I'll stick it on the stand, and you probably will never see that stuff.
Most stands that I've seen so far always do a slight forward pitch, so there's very little chance that's ever actually going to get seen.
Yeah, the only thing you're gonna see is like from the very back, you'll see like this little bit on the underside here.
Well, you can shave that. That's not a big deal.
Yeah, and I can sand it too. I spent a lot of time already like chiseling stuff off of it and
Hmm.
and stuff. But it was the yeah, it was a pretty cool print. He's not life size. He's like a child Terminator.
those
But I didn't have
those are
to
the most
scale.
dangerous ones because they're the cute ones.
That's right. You never see him coming. But yeah, that was a super long print just because the skull was so long. And then like the jaw was another 3. And then it was like an hour and a half for each of the other plates of little detail pieces, not counting all the failed eye stalks and stuff.
Right.
So that was a pain. And then I've also been fighting the Sunlu filaments and their terrible winding jobs.
Don't get me
I
started.
I
That's why I stopped using Sunlu. They wind so loose. I and they overlap each other constantly.
yep. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
It is so
And
frustrating.
it's I thought I lucked out because I initially, before I'd ever tried them, I got that 4-pack, and
Yeah.
I only had the white and the black that would bind up on me a lot.
Hmm.
And I thought I got lucky with this blue and red because they never did. But they didn't until I got to about halfway, and now they are binding all the time. So I've been trying to print something for my wife that should have been done by now, and I was going to show it off, but it has 2 different blues in it, and one of the blues is Sunlu, and it has red in it, and the red is the Sunlu. So I have been spending a bunch of time going back to it and going like, oh boy, it's stuck, and then unsticking it and getting it to restart. And then I did lose, unfortunately, the filament bound up on me on the skull too, but it didn't make any kind of visual artifact on it. But I lost about 4.5 hours overnight because it bound up during the night. And then the next morning, she was like, I saw that it was stuck when I got up, so I went ahead and unstuck it for you. But I was like, oh my God, that print's so long. Because should have finished. It should have finished at like 1 a.m. or something on Friday.
Right.
So I would have been able to start the next part before I went to bed. And instead, it didn't finish until like 7 in the morning. So I set a separate alarm just so I could start a different part. So I knew I could have everything printed by today. And that was the bulk of my printing time.
Well, I can
And then
see
I took
why.
some time. Oh yeah. I took some time though to design this guy who is a Templar from XCOM 2.
Okay, so I was going to ask you when you posted it on the Discord server. By the way, if you want to see some of the stuff, as they come off the printer, Shiggles and I both post our prints on our Share of the Prints page. So join the Discord server, and you'll see the stuff much earlier than the podcast. But I was going to
Cool.
ask you about that thing.
Yeah, it's my favorite Templar helmet that you can customize in the game. So I was like, I printed it out, and then after I printed it, I was like, nobody that knows XCOM or that doesn't know XCOM 2 well will have no idea what this is.
I did not know what it was.
But it's great for me, so I'm gonna hang it up with my stuff.
I almost wrote, "Hey,
I
cool xenomorph."
but I made it. I actually made that one from a model. That's when I had to take a screenshot from the game,
Okay.
from like the character select page. Basically, I zoomed in to where you customize your soldier's like head and face style and stuff. So I would have a bigger image of it, and then I screenshotted that, and then took that screenshot, cropped it so it was just the head, and I tried using first Maker World's Make My Statue
Okay.
because it makes like a bust of anything that you put in.
Mm-hmm.
But apparently it has facial recognition software, and it won't do it with anything that it doesn't think is a portrait. So because that picture, like, there's no eyes because it's a helmet that covers pretty much everything,
Mm-hmm.
it kept telling me it couldn't find a portrait. So I had to use one of their experimental ones. It's just an image to 3D model, and it worked pretty well on that. But I got a 3D model from that, and then downloaded the STL, and then put it in the slicer software. And from there, I was able to basically cut vertically the back half of it off so it had a flat underside, and laid it down on the plate. And then I just added a cube in the slicer, but I made it the size of my background and then shrunk it down vertically so it was just a thin little plate and merged the two together. So
But
that made the basic model.
okay.
And then I found a guy who actually put a negative part for download as an STL to make these layered
I was going to
things.
ask you, how do you do that?
The way that I've seen it described, I've never seen anybody describe how to do it in anything except for either Blender or AutoCAD. And they use a Boolean function and a bunch of stuff. Like, I've never used that software, so I don't know how to do it.
Okay.
But essentially, they'll take a cube, but then they shrink it to like a really narrow slice, and they'll make it as big as like the build volume for a printer.
Okay.
And then they use a Boolean value to replicate it like a certain number of times. And then they alternate it with another one that's a different size. So you end up with like a 5 millimeter slat, and then like a 3, and then a 5 and a 3, and they just go like that. But then they'll take one of those and select all of them that are the same size and make them negative. And then they delete the others. So you end up with this weird
That
block.
sounds so complicated.
It does, it really does. But you end up with, and when you want to import the part into the slicer, it's just a big block with these like grade slats in it, kind of,
Mhm.
because they're negative parts. So they don't exist for real. And all they do is to delete part of other models that they interact with. So you just center it over the top of your model and then kind of lower it so that it comes down, basically slicing in. But it was a process just to get it set up. And then when I was trying to figure out how do I do the slices, that's where I was only finding instructions for all of these 3D model softwares that I have no idea how to use yet. I haven't opened them. And I was like, this sounds really complex and I don't think I want to do this. So I just searched around more until I found somebody that had uploaded and attached like Maker World's kind of weird where you can't just put that part up apparently.
Yeah.
So he had to make a model of a layered sculpture
Mm-hmm.
and upload a print profile of it. And then on that upload, he could attach the STL file for the negative part. But he does have it listed as like make your own. It's a little bit weird because it's translated from German, so it's not 100% grammatically correct. But it does pretty good, I think, for
Making
probably
dirt
Google
voon.
Translate. Yeah, where it's like it. What does it say? It says make your own motif. And I was like, okay, I think that means make your own model. So I went and looked at it, and that is basically what it is. But I also found out by trying to get that to work is if you're using MakerWorld through Bamboo Studio,
Mm-hmm.
there's no drop down to download the attached CAD files. So he had those models up there, but I could only open the print profiles and download those models, and they were already done. So I couldn't take that like negative part. And then it wasn't until he sent me a screenshot because I'd commented on that. I was like, I can't find it. And all these models that you've uploaded, like one of them doesn't have the negative part at all. So I was like, I don't know what this is. And then the next one, it had it, but you couldn't separate it from the model.
Right.
It was already in there. And the third one, I think, was his initial example. And he put in there like an R2D2 head. And it had the negative part, but he said just substitute your model for the R2D2. But it wouldn't let me do that. And for some reason, the way the print profile downloaded, I could erase the R2D2,
Mm-hmm.
but any model that I put in its place, the negative part wouldn't interact with it.
Oh.
Like it would just show them on top of each other, but if I sliced it, it would slice my model full. And I was like, I don't understand how I'm supposed to do this. The only thing it would interact with was actually he had the R2D2 head he found, he didn't model, and it had a hole in it. Well, he made just a domed piece of it was just listed as item geometry. It was like a primitive shape. And he put that inside the model head to make it solid so it would work as a layered sculpture. But the negative part would only interact with that geometry object and not with anything
Oh
else.
wow.
So I have no idea how the print profile like thought it was supposed to handle all that stuff, but it didn't translate.
Well,
And
somehow you
then,
got it done.
well, I got it done because he sent me a screenshot of his Bamboo Studio, and even though it was in German, I
Mm-hmm.
could tell that instead of just the green download and open button,
Yeah.
he had a drop down menu next to it that he had pushed, and then there was a download STLs. But if you're looking at Maker World through Bamboo Studio and you just click on online models,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't give you that option. So I had to go to the website through a browser, and then I could see attached STLs. And that's where he had the model file for the negative part. So that took a while to figure out. And also, I had no idea that they were still working on like basic functionality of Maker World through Bamboo Studio.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, because to me, I was like, well, if I'm looking at it through their own software, shouldn't I see all the options? But either that or they just really want you to use the print profiles that are uploaded and not take stuff and mess with it.
Mm-hmm.
But either that or it might be just be based on like how they integrated Bamboo Handy, and because that's supposed to work on a smartphone, like what use do you have to download the files independently? Because you can't run a slicer on your phone, so that could be from that. But it was frustrating because I was like, well, how do I get a negative part that works? So I was grateful for his help on that. So I made that one layered sculpture of my very own. Oh, oh man, I got a new follower.
Everyone's always trying to sell you stuff.
That's right. A YouTube editor. Well, I don't need one.
Oh my god.
I always have to pull up my giant list of things here. There we go. Maybe it'll still count towards my follower count. You never know.
Well, I mean, according to the new news out there, you don't have to become an affiliate anymore. In fact, they're eliminating the affiliate program.
Really?
They are apparent for the most part. Everyone essentially will be monetized, um, and it's going to allow for, like, if you're running one of those 24-hour streams where you sleep half the time, that channel won't qualify. Okay, because anyone just farming views, they are not allowing to be part of the monetization program. But um, like day one, most people who run channels should be able to monetize without, because apparently it's just a matter of establishing you are going to be streaming, you are going to be trying to build a community, and that qualifies you for monetization. So,
Have to look into that a little bit.
yeah. All right. So the Terminator and your um, what was that called again? The
A Templar.
Templar, a Templar layered sculpture. That's what you did this week.
Pretty much. I also finished this hammer, which I was supposed to give my dad this weekend.
Oh,
Never
that's right.
got one yet.
Your avalanche hammer.
Avalanche hammer. Yeah.
You're not going to you're not going to paint the stripes on the handle.
I don't think I'm going to.
Okay.
And then I printed, a little rock base for it.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Straight up black. And I went through this last spool of black filament really fast.
Yeah, today was my father-in-law's birthday, and so I finally gave him that Steelers hammer that I printed a few weeks ago.
Nice.
So I finally got that out of my workspace. Monstrous thing it is, but he actually was very excited about it. And I don't think he's ever been excited about anything I've ever handed him before. So it was nice to see something different. All right.
I haven't really thought about painting any of those raised edges.
Well, with the bamboo, I just did multicolor on that, so all those stripes I did in a different color. But this week I had a ton of failures, an absolute ton, and some of the failures were just dumb. Okay, so I'm going to start with the ones that didn't work out before I show you any of the ones that did. I decided I wanted to make something cute for my wife, so we have two puppy Morkies. Okay, so I came across this clock. Okay, you'll notice right here, it is all. I mean, it looks like it got chewed on by a puppy.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
it kind of does.
Yeah, it did not print out as nice as I would have liked. So there's no way I was giving her this. Okay. Um, so that's number one. And I mean, the rest of it printed out so perfect and so clean. Why in the world did that happen? It makes no sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So then there was um, this beautiful Hue Forge,
Very cool.
but you'll notice up here, okay, again, looks like it was mangled by some woodland creature or something.
Yeah.
And on the back, look at that.
Huh.
So like the middle looks absolutely gorgeous, right? But it is far from perfect. I mean, the damn, and there's a hole. I mean, there's a legitimate hole right here, all the way through. So annoying, makes no sense. I'm sitting there like, I mean, was that part of the plate just so hot it burned through it? I mean, then there's what could have been an amazing Spider-Man print. Okay, it's not supposed to be all black like that. In fact, there's supposed to be a lot of white that's going on, especially right here and on the mask. It just stopped printing and said it was done.
I've had a couple of those happen before. I don't know why either.
Legitimately said it was done. And I sat there like, no, you're not. So
did it still say that it was at layer like 17 of 20 or whatever, but it just said done?
yes.
Yeah, because I've had that before too, where it's counting the layers properly, but for whatever reason, it'll just go into, yeah, you're done. It stops. It's like, okay.
Okay, so I did another Spider-Man Venom one, a different picture, and I did a lower level gray, then red, then white, and then an upper level black. Well, this is what the printer decided to do, where it did black on the bottom and gray on the top. Doesn't quite look right.
Yeah.
It finished, but it's still a failure because it didn't do any like black on the bottom, okay, gray on the top. So weird stuff. I mean, just I don't even know what to tell you.
Confused.
My first successful print this week was actually this thing.
What's that for?
Okay, so you lay your phone up here, facing the camera down, and then when you want to, let's say you want to keep track of cards you have in a Magic deck or anything like that, you slide them and they fall into that center piece and get centered. And so every time one lays in place, I've got this card, this card, this card, this card, this card, and they stack on top of each other. So you can show off your whole deck because the phone just records the cards moving into place and all the details on the front of the card. Okay.
Ah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's a little perch just to record, like cards you have in a deck or collectible cards or whatever the case is. So that was the first
idea.
successful print that I had this week. Now, when I redid the clock, okay, I actually went ahead and painted it afterwards. Okay. Put on little clock arms that look like sticks. Installed the motor. Okay. Came out absolutely gorgeous. It looks like one of my two puppies.
Is that the Maker Lab kind of clock kit, or did you buy it somewhere else?
Actually, I got that on Amazon. It was a set of 4 clock parts. So you get 4 sets of hands, and they're all unique. They're all different shapes and everything like that. 4 motors, and 4 of the little center pieces that rotate. So
nice.
This is my print of the week because it just came out freaking amazing.
It's very nice.
Needed to get into focus. There we go. I mean, look at this thing. That is a successful print.
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh my god, it is gorgeous. So that's definitely, in my opinion, my print of the week. Came out absolutely gorgeous. But I also printed this out. Came across it yesterday. I felt like I just had to print it.
Super clean as well.
Oh yeah. Um, and then of course the Elegoo printer arrived yesterday. So a good portion of yesterday was figuring out where I wanted to put it, trying to decide whether or not I thought my 10 amp circuit could handle 3 printers in a single room, and the debate going on in my head as to whether or not it was a good idea. And I went ahead and did it anyway. And as you can see, it's working. The others are all running at the same time. So I was, I mean, just the print quality so far has been absolutely fantastic. And I'm using Elegoo PLA Plus, which is supposed to be tougher than PETG. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
I don't know yet. I haven't tested it, but there is no stringing anywhere on here. And even the bottom, like remember the Eiffel Tower I printed before in that like
Mm-hmm.
golden brown? Okay. The bottom of it, let's see if I can get it in focus here. The bottom of it was all messed up. Okay. It did not look great. Like I probably needed to put supports on it. This one with no supports, it is absolutely perfect. There's not a single flaw anywhere on this thing. So, I mean, mind blown just a little bit. And you can see as we've been talking, that thing is just going and
It's
going.
cooking.
I mean, just absolutely fantastic. Um, I didn't get as much done this week. There is a major project that I'm working on, and that's it's not ready yet, okay? But it has been multiple build plates, okay? It's over 40 build plates to print it,
Ooh,
okay?
okay.
And thus far it has been 5.5 days of printing, taking part off, starting a new part, okay? And I'm once it's all done, I'm going to be painting it. I actually went to Michael's yesterday and got a try like color changing paint for accent parts on it. So
Cool.
once I actually get the whole thing painted and I get the accents painted on there and everything, I'm hoping it'll be ready for next week. I'll be super excited. Um, just a hint, it is something from my all time favorite TV show. I came across it. I thought it was only supposed to be printed with resin, but I decided to go ahead and do it with what's up? Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, um, the I didn't know if an FDM printer would do a good job with it so far, and I've been using the Cheaty because I needed a bigger build plate for all the different parts. And so
Hmm.
far, it has been coming out super clean, except I tried to skip some steps, and several small parts. I tried to print them all at once, and it failed like 5 times in a row on those. The most detailed big parts all came out perfectly clean, but the tiny little stuff, I legitimately had to print them out one at a time. Otherwise, they fail.
Oh,
They will not print multiples at a single time.
uh,
So that is very time consuming when you have to, have it reset and do its checks and do all that stuff for a part that literally takes like 2.5 minutes to print. Like
yeah.
it'll take 6 minutes to set up and 2 minutes to print, and then another 6 minutes to set up and another 2 minutes to print. And it's like, so
It's a great time-consuming product or project.
without a doubt, but I feel really good about it so far, and I cannot wait when it's done to show it off. Assuming
Nice.
that my paint job doesn't totally suck, but so that's what I have for prints this week. I do have a small announcement as far as my store goes. Um, I mentioned last week that I was on the verge of quitting or giving up on the STL Flicks uh, site, and I did in
Mhm.
fact cancel my membership there and close down that store. But I did open the Etsy store this week, okay, and right now I have 6 book nooks on it. But have you been paying attention to the commercial licensing through Maker World that's available?
I actually just found out about it like a week and a half ago or something.
Okay.
I didn't know that they did that as a thing, but yeah, I looked into that a little bit, but I didn't actually look at pricing or anything like that yet.
So I found some artists who have done some of the Hue Forges I printed before.
Hmm.
Okay. And I went ahead and signed up for their commercial licenses because the way MakerWorld set it up is rather than go to someone's Patreon and give them a gobs of money to access their files. Okay. If you do it through MakerWorld, it's a small monthly fee. Okay, for whatever artist you want to use their stuff, but anything that they put on MakerWorld is yours to print. Okay,
Oh, okay.
you just have to give an acknowledgement and a link on whatever posting you do of their work that you're going to be selling. You can't sell the digital files, and you can't make any alterations. Okay,
Okay.
but you have to, and all you have to do is give them an acknowledgement. This is the artist, and this is where you can see their work. Okay, um, but
Okay.
in doing so, uh, this week I will be posting um, a ton of Hue Forges that will also be available for sale. Okay, um, and I feel like those have a much better chance to sell than a lot of the stuff that was on STL Flicks,
Hmm.
um, because it's a combination of anime stuff, Marvel, Disney, Pokemon, other pop culture stuff. Okay,
Yeah.
and I went through it and I chose artists that have at least 350 um, models that they've created. That way,
Okay.
there's a massive selection for me to pick the ones I like the most and try and sell those. Versus, like, well, I kind of like this thing and I think it's kind of cool, but I don't know if anyone else is gonna like it. So, like, I'm being a little picky in the ones I'm actually putting on, but
Yeah.
I do like the idea of printing the Hue Forges because I do have less failures typically with those. They come out really nice, and they're going to be
Yeah.
super easy to ship. You know what?
Yes.
I forgot a couple models I did print. Also, I just remembered they're over on this side. So I did print out
Oh,
this guy.
nice.
Okay.
So angry.
I'm thinking of airbrushing him green anyway, but uh, came out pretty good. This one I printed out because I knew it needed supports, and I wanted to see what it was like with it printing supports in between all the layers. And it was a pain in the ass to get the
It really
supports
is.
out. Okay. The ones
Yep.
I
I
did,
broke some of my xenomorph teeth by doing that.
the Daredevil one did not require any supports because nothing was overhanging. Okay. But the Hulk one has a bunch of overhanging stuff.
Mhm.
Okay. So then there's this thing.
Oh,
We can, there we go.
little guy.
Okay. Now I have 2 Morky puppies. So I actually printed out 2 of these and I'm going to color them the distinct color of the puppies. Okay.
Cool.
So this came out nice and clean. And uh, I printed out a second one of these so I could show it on stream. But this was another part of my father-in-law's gift because
All right.
he has a Shih Tzu, and I came across
Mm.
this one and it was all black and gray. I replaced the gray with a brown, and it looks exactly like his dog once I did that.
Oh,
Okay, and it printed out so clean and beautiful that
yeah,
I
it's
was like, you
really
know what?
detailed.
I'm gonna go ahead and print out another one just so I can have it to display because damn, this thing is sick looking. It just looks so
Yeah.
awesome. So yeah, those were the other ones.
I had okay. I'm gonna try this. I'm gonna grab this thing. I forgot about this Hue Forge that I did because it was more of an experiment to see if it would work.
Oh, okay, so while you're grabbing that, I'm just gonna type in a new chat command. Oh, wait, no, that's wrong. There we go.
All right.
So I
So because oh, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say I just typed in exclamation mark shop Okay, and the link from my Etsy shop is up there. You need to get yours. You need to finish putting yours together. Okay, it literally only took me like 8 minutes to open it. Okay, and they
Yeah, and
recommend listing 5 things to start with. Okay, so doing the
well,
listings
I
is
just haven't listed anything.
the most time consuming part. But once you get it up and running, that then we can start advertising your thing. Okay.
See if I can hold these in a way that makes it look okay. Because with my small printer, I decided, what if I wanted to make big hue forges?
Oh, so you did them in quarters?
So yeah, I quartered one up. I don't know how it's going to turn it. Well, here's two of them side by side. I don't know if it's going to.
Oh, you did it. Is that Neo or is that Morpheus?
It is Neo.
Okay.
I can get
Whoa.
the bottom. Who's that?
Whoa. He knows
This
kung
one
fu.
kind of spoke to me because I we got a so unfortunately it's Sunlu again, which I didn't want to buy any more of their stuff. But my wife found that they had a no, it's not gonna work. But yeah, the bottom half is okay as well.
Okay.
But it's a fluorescent green filament,
Hmm.
which in here it doesn't look as fluorescent, but that was one thing that struck me about this guy's Hue Forge when he uploaded it. Is when I was looking at it, I was like, the green is just a little too muted. Like all of the black kind of overtook it, and it didn't really look like that bright of a green. It was like it was
Yeah.
really, really dark green.
Yeah, I can
And
see
I was
that.
like, well, if I use the fluorescent in there, because this is just fluorescent green, there's no standard green in it.
Okay.
And then white, of course, on the top, which is that cold white from eSun,
Hmm.
which I actually like a lot. It's a really super bright white. But yeah, so I printed out a 4 panel hue for it. I just blew it up and then cut it into quarters in the slicer and stuff and printed it out.
Awesome.
But I still have to now figure out a mounting solution. Keep them all stuck together properly.
Well, I mean, I would think that uh, the easiest thing to do would be to um, get an oversized frame with matting material and glue it on the matting and have it framed that way.
Probably.
That would be my quick solution.
I thought about that. That's kind of the one I was like, well, that would be probably the easiest that takes the less or the least amount of like engineering anything,
Right.
is to just do it that way and find something that looks good without the glass in the frame.
Oh, one of the artists that I chose to go with on the Maker World commercial thing, he actually designed frames for his Hue Forges.
Cool.
Yeah.
I've
So
seen a couple that are just stand ones. I did find one. I've got it saved still. I haven't tried printing any of the pieces, but it'll do them. Kind of puts them in a little rack system, so you can throw that on the wall,
hmm,
and it'll hold a bunch of them. It's just that I have printed so many of them in different vertical sizes that I don't have a lot that are the same height. If I had found that stand earlier, I would have started standardizing the height of a bunch of them. So if I was like, well, if it's a portrait size one, then I'll do it, I'll always do it 175 or something. But I didn't think about that until after I found the stands, and it was like, oh, if they were the same height, I can tile them together, horizontally, and then have them in different layers.
right. What is that hanging underneath your on-air sign? Is that
Uh, which one?
the one with the X in the middle of it?
That's the that save I well, it it's the save icon that spins around in the
Okay.
corner of the screen
Yeah, yeah,
on
yeah. On
XCOM,
XCOM. Okay, okay.
but it's also like it's their seal for the resistance. It says like Vigilo Confido, which is I forget what the actual translation is, but I remember somebody pointing out that it's not what they actually wanted it to say.
Of course not.
I think yeah, somebody just looked it up and was like, "Oh, that would be cool."
And what is the thing on the other side?
The other side is that little it's that V8 motor with the blower on it that I printed out a couple
Okay.
weeks ago.
Okay.
it gets drowned out in the purple. It just looks all the same color. Yeah, I tacked those both up under there, I think last week. Actually,
Okay.
they were up there. I figured I'd already shown them off, so I could.
I wanted to change the color of the light I have in the corner. I was not in love with the reflection I was getting. Govee makes it so easy.
Yeah, I
Um,
just have a cheesy little remote for mine.
so I might have an opportunity coming up in. I mean, granted, it's going to be several weeks in the making because I have to do a lot of prep work for it. But it's something that we're going to potentially be looking forward to. If it pays off, it could be huge not only for the channel, okay, but for me personally, um, because of what it would represent professionally. But I'm trying to think. The Now that I've seen the quality of the prints that are coming off this printer, I am so desperate for them to release the multicolor. Okay,
Yeah,
because I would easily put the quality that I'm getting so far on this up against the bamboo without even questioning. And
yeah,
the cost versus the bamboo is just amazing. Uh,
yeah. It
I,
doesn't seem like you give up any features. It has every thing that a bamboo printer has. It's not like it's stored on something where you can't get an enclosure for it, or you can't get like if it did have slightly lower quality, even if it was just a little bit lower quality, and it was like it's not quite there. But from all of the examples I've seen of other people's videos too, I don't see a difference. They really look just as good.
yeah, I mean, like, I can't even express to you how simple it was to get the thing started. And unboxing it was the easiest experience of any of the three printers. Literally,
Oh,
I lifted it out of the box, put it on the table, removed the plastic from the outside, took off 3 strips of tape that were keeping it closed, took out all the packing material, undid 3 screws, and it was ready to go.
oh wow.
Okay. Now, that's where it got a little hairy though, because the UI, which is much better, by the way, it's a touchscreen UI with pictures and all this other stuff, much bigger screen. Um, the preparation that it has to do in order to get ready is almost a half an hour. Okay. It runs through a checklist of stuff that it has to get through. And it took a long time to get through it. And multiple times, I thought it was going to explode because it makes the most horrific noise when it's first getting going. It sounds like a jet engine that has nowhere for the force to go. It's just building and building and building, and it just sounds like at any moment there's going to be shrapnel flying across the room. Um, oh, that reminds me. The I was wrong. Okay, so that fidget was not the first thing I printed. Okay, they recommend uh, that you print a file that it actually comes on the printer first. Okay, because it's your poop bucket. All right,
Oh,
this is what it printed. Let's see. It is a Centauri Carbon
oh,
poop
it's just
bucket, dude. It printed itself.
yeah.
Okay, this is this is what catches the waste. Okay, you see, it
That's a
actually
pretty good
has the
idea.
holes in the back. Okay,
Oh yeah,
you
you
just
can
pop
hear
it
it.
on the back, but it's got the little UI down here. It's got the door. It printed itself as a poop bucket. That's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
It's a pretty good idea.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I'm pretty much set on as soon as they are available that they're not just pre-order.
Hmm.
I'm just gonna I'm gonna swap myself over to one of those things. So I'm really looking forward to their multi-material as well.
I heard. Okay, so I watched both of Uncle Jesse's videos on this machine, and one of his concerns, if you look at the PFE tube or PTFE tube, always forget what that thing's called, but it looks like it has an aggressive angle going into the feeder. Okay,
Hmm.
and his concern was loading the filaments if the angle's too aggressive, whether or not it would have any issues. When I first told it to print, I'd not pushed the filament in. Okay, and so it tried to print this thing initially with no filament. It didn't even think about it. It's just printing nothing. Okay.
Just no.
And so I stopped it. I went back and I loaded the filament, and it didn't even feel like the filament caught, but it pulled it right through with no issues whatsoever. Okay. Um, the Cheaty, when I change the filament, it has to go in and then push past the feeder in order for it to actually take in the filament. So you'll know when you actually go to load it whether or not it's even going to load. Because if you don't feel it catch and then push past, you know it didn't make it past. You have to cut it at like a 45-degree angle to have a sharp edge, so it'll push past the feeder and actually get through. This thing, I did no cutting. All I did was push it through, and where it wouldn't go any further, it just grabbed it and pulled it right through. It's like, okay.
Nice.
So far, my only complaint was how scared I was when when it sounded like it was gonna explode.
Yeah.
Because it got loud and it was just ramping up and it was getting louder and louder and louder.
Oh, that's interesting. Because I don't remember who it was, but there was one other person whose review I watched of it that did comment on that it had a super long initial setup. But then I mean, to me though, that's not really a big deal because it's all automatic.
Mm-hmm.
If it was something that I had to keep intervening in, like if you had to keep checking a bunch of things and saying, yes, does this thing, or yeah, I see that this has moved or whatever, then that would irritate me that it's that long.
Yeah.
But for like a completely automatic one, I'm fine with it taking half an hour, 40 minutes, whatever.
No, see, that's what I'm saying. I mean, like, it took a long time. I had to do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, if I had taken the time to make sure that the filament was in place, it would have finished the setup completely without me having to do anything. But I was so excited to get everything going, I didn't even think about pushing the filament up into the thing. Um,
Yeah.
and the fact that it's a side loader for the filament in and of itself is a great thing, because like with the Cheaty, I had to print out an arm that's attaches to the top and hangs off the side to side load filament into it, because its filament loader, the arm is actually above the machine, and so you have to reach over the machine, keep it from overspinning when you're loading in new filament, and your arms are exhausted by the time you finally get everything in place and done. uh this thing, it's just on the side. When I was ready to pull it through, I just you know straightened out the end, pushed it in, and that was it. Like, okay.
Nice.
It was so easy.
Sounds great. I'm looking forward to getting one later. Because I have decided it's like, and I think I'll keep my mini
Mm-hmm.
until I can get a multicolor box for the yellow goo.
That makes sense.
And then at that point, I'll just trade it out. And then at that point, it's like, okay, then I'll probably have to ask the wife. I'll be like, should I get rid of this other one? Do we sell it, or do I end up just keeping it because you want to keep it? Because sometimes she does that.
Well, I mean, I could see it becoming her printer, and you just switch over to the Elegoo.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she still prints a lot of stuff, so
That's what I'm saying. And
she probably
she's got
prints
a
as much as I do.
she's got her own business. Plus, you said she likes to give away a lot of the stuff for that charitable cause, which is great. Okay, in that scenario, it would make sense for her to have her own printer, um,
Mm-hmm.
especially once you get the Etsy shop going. Because if you do start selling stuff, you're going to have to monopolize the machine.
Yeah, that's true.
So it just makes sense that if you do have a second printer, that you each just have your own.
The Etsy shop still worries me.
Why?
Just because I know I'm going to have to really look at what models I offer because it has such weird proclivities with different types of prints. So I can never tell what it's until I actually print it. I don't know what it's going to print well and what it won't print well.
True.
Because like this, if I was trying to sell these like Terminator skulls or whatever, I don't know if people would buy them if I had such a long list of caveats with like their weird quality stuff,
Well,
or if I would want to take all of the time that it would take to post process this into like a smooth model.
I was thinking about it, and starting tomorrow, I'm going to start a daily vlog that I'm going to post on YouTube, talking about what I'm working on, um, if I get any sales, um, customer reactions, things like that. And it's going to be short videos, like no more than 5 to 10 minutes. Just showing what the printers are doing, talking about the shop, and you know. But what I was thinking was next weekend, um, assuming that we're both available for next weekend. Um, the weekend after, I'm not going to be available, but because it's my daughter's birthday and we're going to Universal. But
Okay.
I'm thinking next weekend, what might be a good idea is if we set up tools that we either are using or should be using for our processing. Um, because I have a bunch of tools I have yet to start employing that I should be using for post processing, and actually discuss, why we got them, what they're supposed to be used for, um, how we have used them, reasons we haven't, stuff like that. And actually, because that's one aspect we've kind of danced around, but we really haven't done anything with. So, especially for people who are less experienced than us, which we're so inexperienced, we're moving away from complete and total novices into like just plain novices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
um,
I could see that.
and so like anyone who's uh, at that entry level that we were, not too long ago, having to put considerations into, oh, should I get this? Do I think that I'm going to need this? You know, uh, just like what we've experienced up to that point. So I'm thinking next week is a tool week. Uh, what do you think?
Yeah, I could do that. I
Awesome.
could show off my repurposed toolkit of things.
And also talking about like spare parts that either came with the machines or that we've purchased, just in case or because we've needed them. Um, like I bought rubber feet for the bamboo, and it came in a set of 8.
Mm.
And I don't know where the other 4 are, but this thing actually uses the same rubber feet. So if I can find them, I could incorporate them into this printer, which would be
Yeah.
great because the desk it's sitting on shakes like it's afraid it's going to get murdered. Okay, while the things go, it is vibrating so heavily. The fact that it's able to print like it is, if you saw what the desk is doing right now, it would blow your mind.
Yeah. I had to add sandbags to my to my little thing that I've got. It's a it's an old entertainment center actually that thing's currently sitting on. But I had to sandbag the bottom of it just so it would be stable enough to resist all the momentum.
I was actually thinking of taking these 2 filing cabinets I have off to the side here and planting them on either side of the legs, to reduce some of the movement.
Yeah, sandwich it in there a little bit.
Yeah, and actually put like padding in between so that it doesn't bang into them, but they do reduce the overall movement. That's one thought that I have. I was also thinking of reinforcing the center of the table. Um, so, like, if the sides don't move, and then the middle of the table has a stronger support, because this is a small machine, but it is actually kind of stocky. Um,
Hmm.
it was surprisingly heavy.
Yeah.
It is definitely heavier than the bamboo. Um, I mean, obviously, nothing's as heavy as that Cheaty. That Cheaty is a commercial grade machine, and
Yeah.
it weighs every bit of. It's like I think 80 pounds or 85 somewhere in there. Stupid heavy. once I got it where it is, I said to myself, unless I need to, this thing is never moving. Okay, I can move the table that it's sitting on so much easier than I can move it. Okay, so I mean, that's probably the
And
biggest advantage to the A1 Mini is you could take one finger and lift that thing up.
that's right. Super lightweight. The AMS is heavier than it is, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've got 4 rolls of filament on there. You got 4 kilograms of filament weighing that thing down.
That's right. Yeah, I sandbagged him a little bit. It helps quite a bit, but it's still not 100% stable. If I just had a regular desk, which I keep harping on the wife because my idea was to use her computer desk, and I was going to put this stuff on it because she doesn't like that desk a whole lot, which I don't blame her. It was kind of, we kept it because we had it, and it's usable. It's not like there was anything wrong with it. I didn't want to throw it away the last time we moved, so I was like, we'll keep it or whatever. And then when I built her gaming PC, it was like, well, we have this computer desk, so here you go. But then when I was going to get a desk for the printer, it was like, I could use just anything that is a secure tabletop for this. So I kept on pushing her. I was like, find a desk you want, and we will get you a computer desk, and then I will take this old desk, and I'll just use that. Because I don't care what the printer for the desks looks like, or what the desk for the printers looks like. And I don't really need any shelf space is fine. It's like I don't need it configured a certain way, but I would like her to have a computer desk that she enjoys and does all the stuff she wants.
Right.
And then I'll just take the crappy hand-me-down one. And it's like I just need it as a stable base. That's all I care about. It doesn't shake as much. And it's got the room on it.
Yeah, I actually I would make a recommendation off of my experience with these things. When I was going through my student teaching, I was paired up with a culinary teacher, and so we were in his kitchen essentially that he taught out of, and they had these stainless steel reinforced tables, okay, which are they're food grade, so you could literally make food on the steel, and when you clean it, it doesn't hold on to bacteria or anything like that. It's actually designed for that purpose. Well, they are so solid and so fantastic. I went on Amazon, and they sell them in pretty much any size that you want. Okay, so I bought 2 that were 24 by 24 by 24 squared. Okay,
Yeah.
and then I bought one that was 32 by 24. Okay, because of the AMS. So the bamboo is on the 32 by 24, just so that there was room for the second AMS since the first one is sitting on top. And they do not shake at all. They are solid.
Oh, nice.
Okay. The the machine moves a little bit. Okay, but again, because that one's on rubber feet, and actually, I'm pretty sure that the Cheetah, because of its weight, came with rubber feet. Okay, it's not like they wanted that monstrous thing sitting flush on anything. Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, because of that, they move independently of the tables themselves. And the tables are not expensive, by the way. You would think that they were super expensive. Okay. But I will send you the ones I picked out. And I'm telling you right now, you can either you can get them with casters or without. The casters are heavy duty commercial casters, okay, with really solid locks on them. They're just really hard to install. I'm not even going to lie to you. So mine don't have the casters installed. I decided to put furniture movers underneath them instead. And even with the furniture movers, they do not move at all while the printers are going.
Nice.
Um, if I didn't have to relocate the third printer so that they're all in different outlets, then I probably would have had the third printer on the third table. But I didn't want to risk overwhelming the circuit and causing it to trip.
Yeah.
So, and I did ask a very intelligent sounding AI, whether or not a 10 amp circuit could handle 3 3D printers, and it said it could as long as they don't share outlets. I was like, okay, well, there you go. And so far, it's
So far,
working.
so good. Yeah. Haven't overloaded it yet.
I did contact an electrician to find out how much it would cost to upgrade to a 20 amp circuit. And because he would have to pull wires through the wall, it's going to be a little bit less than $1,000. And I am not ready for
Yeah.
that yet.
Yeah. It's a pricey upgrade for, like you
Well,
think about it, it's like
if I
just so
could
that I have
sell
the extra
one thing,
amperage.
if I could sell just one item, okay, I might turn around and put that investment in. But so far, I have yet to sell a single thing, which is why I'm hoping
I know.
that the Hue Forges draw some attention. Okay, because
Yeah.
even though to me the book nooks are some of the most amazing things I've ever seen, they do not seem to be getting the business. Um, so like I may be ending that sometime soon. Um, and I'm sad to do it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I don't want to just keep giving money to this guy if I don't have some kind of return on the investment.
Yeah. It's hard to justify the cost when it's like you haven't had. It's not like you had a lot of sales or something, and then they kind of died down.
Right.
Because then I could see the thought that maybe it's a seasonal thing somehow for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
It'll come back. But if you haven't had a sale yet, then it's hard to justify continuing to pay the commercial license.
Right. Um, and that was another thing that I thought was interesting about the Maker World commercial licenses is how easy it is to cancel. Okay.
Oh, okay.
That's when like when I signed up for the first one, I did it experimentally so I could see how easy it is to cancel if I wanted to. And you can just the same way you sign up through Maker World, you can cancel through Maker World. So that makes it super easy. A
Yeah,
lot
for
less
the most part.
intimidating.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, I'll have to look into that. I'll have to see. Because I do also have seemingly better luck with flatter stuff.
well, I mean, I'm oh where did I think I left it downstairs. So there have been some 2D signs that I've been absolutely in love with that I printed. Um Especially since I printed them on the flat plate that has the reflective nature to it because it gives the
Yeah.
sheen to the front of the print. Um so I was thinking of doing like corporate awards, and trying to sell it to some local businesses, stating like if you want to, advertise or congratulate someone, look, it's done. Okay, it just finished. Okay, it did the whole thing while we were talking, and it's perfect. Look at that thing. It's,
Yeah.
I'm gonna turn around and pop it off in a second, but essentially, if you want to acknowledge somebody, uh, I wanted to do rather than a 3D sign that, uh, even though it looks nice, it doesn't have the same visual like appeal to it. Where I can design something that looks kind of trophy esque and then put it on a background to give it a 3D feel to it, but a more elegant look for a business to reward somebody with.
Yeah.
So that was something that I'm going to be trying to come up with a concept for because I can print up 3D signs, but I'm trying to figure out how to print up 2D signs. Like I found models that I really like where someone made them and they look amazing. I want to
Yeah.
figure out how to do that. Like, what is it that they did, or what software did they use? If I could figure that out, then I'd be golden because I have a lot of ideas on how to structure it and stuff I'd want to put on there, but I need to know what the process is to flatten it like that, as
Yeah.
opposed to it being raised. The raised stuff looks good, but I think it looks better when the whole thing has got that uniform shine to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Especially if you want to do either textured or like your transfer plates and stuff.
The transfer plates I love. I can't even express to you. Yeah,
They're
and
pretty cool.
anytime it catches light and you get that, that beautiful, reflective nature to it, it's like, does that stuff wear off? I mean, like, am I going to have to buy new plates or does it just always do
I don't actually know
that?
because I don't like when I first saw them. I assumed it was a sticker that you had to apply to the plate first,
I thought so
and then
too.
it would just pull it off like once, like you had to use a sheet for every print.
Hmm.
But
I,
I have no idea how it does what it does.
and it's so pretty when it's a
Mhm.
like remarkably pretty. Um, the the build plate that comes on the Elegoo is a textured plate, and it feels different than the other texture plates I have for the other two printers. I don't. It just feels like it's made of something different. Here, hang on a second. I'm gonna turn around and grab.
Tower.
All right, so we have the print. Okay, and you can see the texture.
Mm-hmm.
It is funny how the scanner line that each printer prints is so different from each other. Okay, the Cheaty does this super thin one that, like, if it was, it would be like right in front of the print and then goes right next to it. The Bamboo prints out basically a solid thick line across the bottom, and then this one goes down the side and across the bottom with a relatively thick line. It is strange how they all kind of do their own thing.
All their own little calibration thing.
Yeah. All right. So uh, that was super easy to pop off. Um, it is. This is not as deep a texture as what is on the Cheaty. Okay, but it is definitely textured, and the backside is smooth-ish,
Oh,
but it's
nice.
not a transfer. So I may try some on the smooth side to see how it comes out. Um, Let me see what the
See,
bottom feels
I
like.
wish when I bought my second plate, I would have got one that was two different textures instead of just another solid textured one.
Okay,
Because
so
sometimes I think about that as like maybe I should have tried a smooth plate since I was going to buy another plate anyways. It would have been cool to have
let me see if I
different
can get this
finishes.
to. You can see it is slightly textured on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but nowhere near as rough as the Cheaty bottom is. Okay, the plate in the Cheaty is super textured. This one is just a very mild. Yeah, it's yeah. The only way it's just smoother, than the Cheaty one. So
Yeah.
it's a very different feel. Um,
Would you say it's smoother than the bamboo one, or do you have a textured for your bamboo?
I do have a textured for the Bamboo, but it's been so long since I've used it that I don't remember what it feels like. And I have it in. I printed out a multi-plate storage system that you can slide the plates in and out of.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but once I started with the transfer plates, I have not touched the original plate that it came with. Um, because I thought that the textured plates, before I knew better, I thought that they would have better hold because, um, like the plastic would melt around it, versus it being flat. But it's my understanding
Yeah.
that the flat surfaces actually, because there's more surface area, have better adhesion typically. So
Mm-hmm.
now that I know that, I feel like an idiot, but at the same time, that's why we're doing this. We're learning as we go.
Yep. Yeah,
There,
that's why I started wishing as I did more research. It was like I should have just got one that was smooth on one side, and then I could have tried that.
there is one flaw. There's one tiny artifact. I don't know if you can see it, that it did not print completely smooth. Let me move
Huh.
really close. You can see the little loop right there.
Yeah.
Okay, right in the middle. There's one loop that did not print perfect. Otherwise, completely flawless. And this is preloaded on the printer. This is
Oh
actually,
wow. That's just like a little test print you can do.
yeah. It does have a benchy, but I still refuse to print a benchy. Although
Yeah, you're the coolest.
it's my understanding that uh, Printables actually had a Benchy creation contest. So
Yeah, they have.
there's like thousands of Benchies on there of varying types. So I may
Yep.
print out a unique Benchy
Cool
versus
one.
the a standard one. Let me pop this back on.
I still keep my purple benchy next to my other prints. It just sits next to me on the desk all the time. My little boat.
Okay. Oh, you've got your Benchy.
He's here with me all the time. I keep him next to my Minecraft sign and my Deadpool.
Okay, so the lining up the build plate, by the way, is easier on this machine than the bamboo. Just like the Cheaty, it has corners in the back. So once you just slide it in place, it goes where it's supposed to go. Where the bamboo does not do that. The bamboo has two little like hooks that stop it from going forward, but it doesn't center it, right? So you can
Yeah.
be too far over to the right or too far over to the left. This one does the same thing the Cheaty does, where because it has corners, you just slide it right into the corners and it lines it up perfect. So,
Way to go.
all right.
Wish I had that. And my third party plate too also doesn't have the proper shape of like on my mini. I have like that little steel plate that's part of the nozzle cleaner.
Mm-hmm.
And that on the bamboo plate, it has an indent that's cut into it. It's pretty easy. It's easy-ish to get it lined up. It can still be a little bit catty corner one way or the other,
Uh huh.
but it slides in pretty nice. But on that third party plate, they didn't cut that divot to the perfect size. So that one does not line up itself at all. You have to kind of push it back into it, and then you have to lower it down and like really adjust the left to right because it's not quite deep enough to let that entire piece like sit inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it kind of holds it a little bit back, and those little corners just they're never perfect. Like such a pain. Which is a shame because that plate has I feel like a little bit better adhesion than the bamboo one, probably because it might be sort of like the Centauri one where it's not quite as textured. It's got a little bit less texture, like aggression to it.
All right. Let's see. I want to print something else on this thing just to see what it would look like. Um, hmm. Should I get a person whose torso is floating while they're meditating, or should I do a knitted fox?
No, I would go with knitted fox if you don't. It's not a known person. A meditating person doesn't sound as interesting unless it was funny in some way.
Well, it's just that like the arms are touching the legs, but the torso up to the head is all kind of floating in midair. You know, so it's not attached to the lower body. Um,
That'd be an interesting print. See how it handles it.
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm gonna try this and see how it comes out. Let's see. Okay, download the file, and then now I have three different slicers that I'm using at the same time.
Oh wow.
Uh, because the Cheaty is still not in um, Orca, and I don't know if
Okay.
this new Elegoo is in Orca. So there's no point in me using Orca. So
Yep.
I used Cheaty Studio, Bamboo Studio, and now uh, whatever the Elegoo actual official title is.
Well, they do have. See, bamboo has that cool super tack plate. That one, I might actually get that one.
I know I'm
Someday.
very tempted by that thing.
Part of me, like one. Also, once I decided that I was going to kind of swap over to the Centauri carbon when I get it, then I was like, well, do I really want to spend more money on accessories for the one that I won't use as much? But I almost feel like that could be my it could be what I need to solve the warping a little bit,
Mhm.
since it seems to happen pretty close to the plate. It's like maybe I just get a much tackier plate and then that solves it.
All right, so I need to enable supports. Now
Gotta
here's
have
an
support
interesting
for
thing.
floats.
It like I like tree supports. It does not give you the option to change the types of tree supports that you're using. It just says tree auto. If I go to even under manual, it doesn't. You can't select, strong, hybrid, organic, thin. It doesn't give you the option on this
It only
slicer.
has one tree.
All right, so let's see what this looks like and how long it says it's going to take. 2 hours. Okay. It's going to use. Well, I mean, I guess that's not bad support wise. All right, we're going to give it a shot.
2 hours later. First plate for the wife's decoration is done finally.
Let's see.
Yeah, part of me has almost wanted to print out a one of those re-spoolers so I can re-spool my Sunlu filaments. I've built up a little collection of spools. I've got like one official bamboo one. I've got a couple of empty Sunlu ones too. They're supposed to be all reusable, so I was like, well, maybe I should just do a re-spooler instead of having to deal with this all the time. This is irritating because I'll get them like every time I unstick it,
Mhm.
I'll back it off a few to get it loose and then actually rearrange the laps so that they're not covering, because it's never just one little interaction. It's usually that strand is pinned under like 3 or 4 loops of filament. So then I have to like loosen the whole thing up and like shift them over so that they're off of it. I don't know how they ended up winding it like that. But now that I've found it on all 4 of the spools I bought from them, it's like I don't think I'm going to buy anymore. I've only had one of my Polymaker spools ever get stuck out of all of the Polymaker stuff that I've bought. And it was actually on the Terminator skull. It was the first time that silver stuff stuck on me. And I've used most of that roll, so it still has a way more reliable track record than Sunlu filament. Is it firing up?
Not yet. Let's see.
Oh, the other advantage to not using bamboo printer is a stupid. Well, I don't know how the Wi-Fi adapters are on the other ones, but the A1 Mini, that Wi-Fi antenna it has is terrible. The thing is so close to my router, and yet it will not pick up any more than just like the very faintest signal. It's always on the lowest signal integrity.
Right?
Usually, it doesn't matter because it'll download a print before it has any kind of hiccups. But then with the skull, because that file was so big, that one it actually did fail to transmit like twice. I uploaded it to the cloud from the computer,
Right.
and then while it was downloading to the printer, the first two times I tried it, it failed because it lost connection. Just long enough for it to go like, oh, I can't do that, and then it's like lost connection with Mini Boy or whatever, and then I had to stop it or go back to my slicer software and retry.
Oh, is that what yours is
It,
called, Mini Boy?
yeah, I named it Mini Boy.
Oh, okay. Because I have the Bamboo is Ed 209, the
Mm,
Cheaty is Johnny 5, and the Elegoo is Megatron.
Megatron, nice. It's good choices. Yeah, but I was like, it was irritated because there's no. It's like it fails to download it, even though I uploaded it to the cloud service and stuff. You can't just hit retry and have it try to re-download. You have to re-upload as well, so it starts over. And I was like, okay, now I got to do the cloud thing again and let it sit there and say it's uploaded, and then it has to go do the download. But that was irritating. It was. It's one of those things where the only way that I could definitively fix it
Mhm.
would then make it less likely I could sell it if I wanted to. Because I was looking at, instead of using one of those crappy PCB like printed Wi-Fi antennas,
Yeah.
I could solder on a Wi-Fi antenna with a real antenna on, but I would have to drill a hole to mount that into the side of the body. And I don't want to modify the printer to that degree.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense.
But on the other hand, I know that would fix the stupid reception issue. And I had a real Wi-Fi antenna. My wife was like, "Put a range extender in," and I was like, "I don't know if that would even solve it because it's in the next room. It is one room over from where I'm at with my router. It's like it seems dumb to put in an extender just on the opposite side of the wall from the router. I don't know if it would even really help."
Well, so Wi-Fi extenders I've never had a lot of luck with, but my research in preparing for my various certifications I had to get, the most balanced and consistent way to extend your Wi-Fi is to do mesh. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
um, where you have the single output for internet for your entire house, and you have the units that are receiving and communicating back and forth between each other, not so much all of them trying to reach back to the initial thing where one of
Yeah.
them may have a better connection while the other ones will connect to that and share the signal strength. So it's more like a net than it is, individual arms reaching back to try and get a proper internet signal. Okay.
Yep.
So, like, if one of your mesh units has a really good signal, then they all do because they can all communicate with whatever the closest good connection is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, and typically that's why mesh networks are a little more expensive, but they're
Yeah, they're
also,
pricey.
well, yes and no. So, a lot of them have actually come down recently. Um, you don't have to get Wi-Fi 7 mesh, okay.
Yeah.
But the they they have create. I guess the technology just creates a more stable Wi-Fi network than relying on. If a door is open in this hallway, then this extender will be able to reach it. So much better. Uh,
Yep.
so granted, this is just what I've learned from reading and teaching my students. You know, whether or not it actually applies to most things in the real world, technically, just going off the way it's designed, it's supposed to work like that. You know.
Yeah. Well, I've definitely when I put in like years ago a range extender for my mom,
Mhm.
it was always a problem. Like it seemed like it had just as many problems as they had without it. But instead of having connection issues with her individual devices, it was just the extender was having a connection issue with her router.
Right.
They weren't super reliable. It was okay, but it was also the fact that they don't unify the same way, where you can't use the same identifier and password. Like, they'll use the same password, but the devices that are connecting to it always know that that's a separate device. And a lot of times, what they would happen is they wouldn't hand off the device to the better signal strength repeater,
Mm-hmm.
because it would just see the name would be like Linksys extender or whatever, but it would just try to hang on to that connection despite the fact that it had a much better connection to either the first extender or to the main router. And with the mesh networks, they hand off a lot better.
Yes.
And that's the main reason you want the extenders, right? Is so that you always have the best signal wherever you're at. But that's the one thing that the extenders suck at, which is funny.
Yeah.
Because when I got her upgraded to a mesh system, it has been so much easier.
Mhm.
It just takes care of itself. She doesn't have all the stuff where she'll be like, I lost internet on my TV downstairs. And then I go over there and it's like, oh, well, for whatever reason, it decided that it wanted to connect to your home router instead of the extender that's next to the TV. And then it just hangs onto that and it goes, no, that's my network. Can't
Yeah.
change. But yeah, I would do that if it wasn't device specific, I would do that. But I only have a 1,700 square foot house, so I shouldn't need a mesh, and it's so close. It is literally the wall that's my background. That's the wall that my printer's against on the other side. And my router is right here with me on my desk. But it always sees it as just like the signal strength is so bad. I
Mm.
hate it.
How close to the wall is the printer?
It's about maybe 8 inches, 10 inches away.
I would say that if you potentially use a stud finder, okay, center it in between studs so that it's not potentially getting anything solid, and move it so that it's 10 to 12 inches from the wall just to eliminate interference, you might end up with a stronger signal.
I could try.
And um, that actually came from, I want to say, chapter 9 in the networking thing, where
Oh.
when you're designing networks, you need to understand that drywall absorbs Wi-Fi signals. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
uh, where like studs reflect Wi-Fi signals. So, uh, a stud will actually send a signal back in the other direction. So you want to be in between studs if you're trying to receive a signal through a wall. And uh, the back and forth, if you're too close to the drywall, it doesn't have a chance to kind of push its way through the drywall. It just kind of hits the drywall and doesn't go anywhere. So, like, being a little bit further away gives it a chance to like spread out and actually penetrate better. So that's just the explanation as I understood it and as I was trying to explain it to my students. Um, when you're planning out your network, you have to plan for absorption and reflection for the Wi-Fi signal. Which is why ubiquity mesh routers are the greatest thing in the history of mesh routers because they sit along ceilings in like hallways and even in a room if you want it to be, but because they sit in very specific places, they receive signals from open air, not from walls and whatnot. You know,
Mm-hmm.
so it just makes them work that much better.
Yeah, those are nice.
Or you can run it where it has an Ethernet connection through like wet walls and stuff down to the actual router itself, and then sends out its own wireless signal, much closer to where it needs to be. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, those are on the more high end though, because
Oh yeah.
that
It's out of my price range.
out of most people's price range. Okay, I mean, we're not all freaking Linus over here, you know.
Hi.
So you can have your own ubiquity mesh router in every single room. It must be nice, but
Yeah, it's like they usually use them for like a floor of an office building. He's like, my house has one on each floor, and then I have one in the backyard.
no, he has one in each room, not in each floor. the I watched when they first laid out the internet for his house, when they were first installing it. And then, like, you know what? It'd probably work better if we did this. And they did one in the hallway, which then communicated with the ones in each room. Like, God
Oh, wow.
damn. So, like, the one in the hallway was hardwired to the router.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then the other ones were wireless to that from very, very close distances. And they were all inset in the ceiling, so there was no interference anywhere.
Yeah.
Nothing to stop the signals from being received. In fact, two of the rooms had transom windows, which just made it even worse as far as like how good the signal was probably going through.
Mhm. Good stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try with that. Kind of play around with the placement of it. See if I can get a little bit better signal.
Yeah, I mean, just give it a shot. There's no guarantees, but you do typically have 16 inches in between studs, so
Yeah.
a little proper positioning can, in my opinion, make a big difference. Uh, just making sure that you're not too close to a stud. You know,
Hmm.
eliminate at least eliminate the possibility where if there is a chance to make it better, you do that. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, because it just needs to be a little bit better. It doesn't need to be super great. It's not like I have a ton of problems with it. It's just a very occasional. Like I'll go to resync my AMS, and for a second it'll say, "Oh, it's lost connection with your printer," and then it usually comes right back up. But it's just one of those things that I hate seeing the stupid signal integrity strength always at the very bottom.
Wait, your AMS is wireless to your printer?
No, but when I do the slicer, like um, if I change spools on the AMS,
Mhm.
it's all changed on the printer, but it doesn't synchronize automatically with Bamboo Studio.
Oh,
So whenever I open that up, then I have to push the refresh button in Bamboo Studio to tell it to synchronize uh, its data with the AMS.
mm,
Otherwise, it uses the data from whatever I printed before. Like the last print job that I set, it'll still have those spools as 1, 2, 3, 4.
okay. The if something happens where like one of the spools gets tangled or something like that, and it's a long time before I'm able to get to it because either I'm at work or whatever the case is, I sometimes have to reset the whole machine, the bamboo. I have to turn it off and turn it back on
Really?
because it goes into like this super deep coma, not even going to sleep. It goes into this weird coma where I have to do something to startle it back awake again because the computer will tell me that it doesn't recognize any printer being there.
Weird.
Oh, it's so dumb.
I haven't had that one yet. Heck, the longest that I know it has sat, I think, was a couple days ago when it sat when my Terminator skull got stuck, and I think it was about 4 hours between the time it got stuck to the time that the my wife got up. But she was still able to just resume it right away. She unstuck it and then just hit resume on the thing.
Mm.
It spun up. I'm glad because otherwise it would have been a big setback.
Oh, that was another thing, by the way, that took added to my print time on this special project I'm working on. This one part, I had to switch to a new 3 kilogram spool of the matte white for the cheaty. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and oh my god, it uh because I have it on this little arm away from the printer. It Nothing that you attach to the printer is strong enough to hold 3 kilograms. So I've got this
Yeah.
separate like feeding roll arm that it sits on. But if the spool sits at a certain angle, when it pulls far enough, the if the wheel isn't sitting the right way, it's not balanced. So the weight makes it roll a couple times forward,
Mm.
even though it's still only pulling a tiny little bit at a time. And what ends up happening is once it gets caught up, now there's loose filament that's wrapped itself around the outside of the arm and it ends up getting jammed.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And that must have happened 12 times with one part. Okay. And it would happen like I would start it, I'd go to the bathroom, come out of the bathroom, it's stuck. So then I would, back it up, start it back up again, tighten it, and the next time it pulled, it would over rotate a couple of times, and a few minutes later we get stuck. And I swear to God, I think it happened like a dozen times before it finally was balanced and didn't happen again after that.
That's a pain in the ass.
Oh my word. Yes. Yes, it is. Um, and I had just purchased another roll of PETG because I want to print a Stream Deck stacker for my Stream Decks.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be nice and sturdy so I can move it around without fear that something's going to pop off or something.
Hmm.
And I went to start it today, and the bed did not want to hold on to it. Um, so I lectured the machine for like 10 minutes. I told it needed to think about what it's done. Okay. Think about why it's not doing what it's supposed to. Okay. Pull its head out of its ass wherever it is. I don't know where those things are. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when I come back to it, I anticipate that it's going to have figured itself out and actually get this done. Okay. I haven't turned it back on yet for the second try. But I need to find my I don't use a glue stick for that one. There's a liquid polymer adhesive that I use, which seems to uh, it goes on more evenly than the glue stick does. And
Yeah.
anytime I've used it, I can then use it for I don't know 30 or 40 consecutive prints typically without any adhesion issues. And because I'm using PETG, I have to use something like that so that it doesn't melt to the build plate.
Yeah.
Um, because the failure that it created took me a solid 4 or 5 minutes to remove the PETG from the build plate. And that thing had only heated up for, a couple minutes, not the
Mm-hmm.
full amount of time that it is supposed to print. So I got to find where I put that polymer. I swear to God, it was right there. And when I went to use it earlier today, it was not right there, which means it's fallen somewhere. I'm gonna have to move a bunch of crap that's sitting on the floor here.
Gotta find it before you need it.
Yeah, right. So, um, because I did these tech news segments for the school news. Number one, the TV production teacher hates me uh, because everyone talks about how much better my segments look than the school news does,
Man.
which is not my fault. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not my fault. Okay, but I understand, why she may not want the criticism. But uh, I have several teachers who are constantly um, like asking me to do like a 3D printing class for the staff to show them how to use this stuff. And I keep saying no because uh, I don't see how it's in my best interest to, you know, stop whatever it is I'm doing to teach all of you how to do something when no one was showing me how to do a goddamn thing, you know? Uh, and like I indicated to a couple of them, look, if you could talk the principal into giving me comp time, or if you guys want to fork over a little bit of money, that's one thing. But and the one lady's like, well, to be honest, I really don't care about 3D printing. I showed my husband your segment, and he's like, I would love to see his setup. I want to know what equipment he's using, and I want to know about 3D printing. So she wanted to learn about it to teach him. And so she's like, can you show me pictures of your setup? And I'm like, yeah, I could. And then I was thinking to myself, I ordered a bunch of stuff for my desktop. So it's going to be at least a week to a week and a half before all that stuff arrives. So I told her, look, you're just going to have to be patient because my desk does not reach its final form currently. Okay. So
Additions need to be done.
he's just going to have to be patient. And plus, since I decided that with that thing back there, that I need to move those filing cabinets, that means I have to relocate where my computer is because it's sitting on the filing cabinets. Um, and so I got to figure that out. So I need at least a week and a half before I can legitimately take pictures of this because I want it to look decent, not just, oh yeah, I mean, I have this, and
Yeah. It'll be a whole adventure, man, to get that set up.
Well, the funny thing, my wife was like, if you treated the rest of the house the way you treat your office, that would be amazing. I'm like, you want me tearing apart the entire house the way I constantly tear apart my office? I don't know that you thought that one through all the way. Then she's like, oh, yeah.
When you're like, this TV needs to be mounted to the different wall now.
Well, okay. So I went through all the trouble of putting the brick soundproof panels all over the walls. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe instead of having my camera standing on something, maybe I wanted to wall mount it. So now I'm going to have to cut out parts of those panels so I can put a
That's what
wall
you
mount for the camera. And is there a way for me to, you know, run additional lighting? And if I do that, then I'm probably going to have to cut out segments and in order to run the channels to attach the lights to. It's like, wow, I really screwed myself. So much extra work.
just got to modify stuff constantly.
Constantly. That is the operative term. Constantly. There is no, completion. It is.
It's just the current evolution.
Mhm. We're well past
Probably one.
2.0 at this point.
Yeah.
I
The
should
only thing
change my office
I've
name
thought
to
of
Working
recently,
Title.
working title. That's pretty good. Yeah, the only thing I want to add, I think that I don't have right now in my setup is just I want to put the camera on an arm instead of having it sitting on top of the monitor.
Even with the wide angle lens, I still have to have it set back further than I would like.
Mhm.
Um, just because the it's not a full frame camera. It is a mirrorless camera, but it's not a full frame.
Yeah.
Oh, is that you or me? That's me. Oh, okay.
It is you.
Mexican 46292. Welcome. I was sitting there going, wait a second.
To the
They're right in
podcast.
the. Welcome to the podcast. The let's. I mean, I think that for the most part, we're probably winding down. Unfortunately, but the this has been a productive week. I think we've addressed a lot of issues. Um,
Yeah.
and I'm really looking forward to next week because next week's episode is going to be fantastic, where we talk about tools, why we pick them, why we use them, and more importantly, why we haven't used them. that's gonna be that's gonna be a really good episode. Um, so I'm noticing that we're actually about to hit the 2 hour mark, which I think for this week is probably a good time to kind of wind it all up. Um,
Yeah.
so let's go ahead and Shiggles. What do you have going on this week? What's your plan? And you know, uh, if someone wanted to check out your stuff, what can they do?
Well, for right now, the plan for this coming week, I still I derailed my whole plan of doing the whole a plate of little squares to see if I could figure out if there's a certain spot that I have a bed adhesion problem in.
Yeah.
Because I found the Terminator skull, and then the huge print time on that, it just didn't allow me the time to do it.
Oh, show Mexican your Terminator skull since you just mentioned
Oh
it.
yeah.
You might as well. This was done on an A1 Mini.
Oh
Okay, which
yeah, A1 Mini.
I'm very impressed that that tiny little thing put
It's
out
got
that thing.
yeah, because the whole main body of the skull was one piece, so
Mhm.
it's like yeah, inserts are different, and of course the eyes and stuff, and there is a lower jaw. It just hasn't been put on there yet, and a stand that is in the other room currently.
I like the detail on
But
the top of those teeth. That's kind of
oh yeah, like okay, the lower jaw, the teeth turned out really good.
yeah. I'm noticing
Yeah.
you've got molars there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Because this was the bottom. That's what printed on the supports. So again,
yeah, yeah. I mean
A1
that's
Mini doesn't print on supports super well,
right.
but the ones on the top skull
Oof.
are a little bit
Little,
not
little
as
rough.
clean at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a I decided to invest the huge amount of time to print that instead of doing my test that I was had meticulously planned out. But the big one is to do that test, and then I think I'll that's the only thing I have like planned. Um, with the exception of I will have like a layered print that I'm doing for my wife. She's just going to hang it up by her computer. But when I have that done, Uh, I'll show that off next week too, because I've only printed one of the 7. It's either 7 or 8 plates that all stack on top of each other.
Okay.
I've only got one done so far because it was in the stupid Sunlu blue, so it took 3 times as long because I had to babysit it and constantly hand feed the damn thing.
I warned you about Sunlit. I mean,
I'd already bought that whole 4-pack by the time you said something about it, and I was like, "Oh man, I got so much."
I have 4 boxes unopened that I refuse to even touch. All right, so what else?
You need a rewinder so you can respool those
Oh my
also,
god. Oh my
so you
god.
can use them.
Yeah.
The reason I haven't done it is because I just have 2 of these partials, and I feel like it would almost be a waste of time to go through all that time and effort just to get through like half of a spool or less.
Yeah. So what else, Shiggles?
Uh, what else is going to be something cool that I find? I'll do my test, finish my wife's print, and then an as yet unfound at least couple of cool prints. I'm going to do at least one more of the layered sculptures because I kind of had an idea to put, I think, at least 4 of them on that back wall, kind of like above the where that green lamp is.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm thinking because I already did Templar from XCOM and then the Xenomorph, that maybe I'll go with sort of an extraterrestrial theme. So I might find a couple of more alien or alien adjacent kind of models that I can design up. And I kind of do want to do them on my own instead of finding them because I want to get better at kind of manipulating stuff in the slicer software.
Eventually, you need to print out my character from XCOM.
Oh, yeah. Do a beta beans.
And
Oh, and there is a plan to do a I haven't found the exact one yet, but I know I want to print out a Final Fantasy VII figurine of some sort. I just haven't landed on the exact model I want to print.
and your Etsy store is launching when?
TBD. I don't know about the Etsy store.
Okay.
I'm gonna do some more work on it here. I'll find at least I think 3. I want to find 3 models this week that I can commercially license that I think will print well, and I got to test print each one of them to make sure that I can put out a saleable product.
Right.
And if those turn out good, then I will probably just launch with just 3 things to start with.
Okay. And as far as um the Patreon, have you looked into that?
I've got it set up for the most part. It doesn't have any socials linked to it or anything yet, and I don't have rewards set up yet.
Okay. Oh, we have to come up with reward tiers for that.
Yep.
Right. Okay. All right. So that's getting a little bit closer to coming into existence. Um so like I said at the top of the stream, uh last week's episode 4 and this week episode 5 should both be launching on the podcast channels on Tuesday. Okay. So Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple podcasts, and Amazon Music, all the those 4 podcast channels will get the new episodes most likely on Tuesday, and we should also be posted on YouTube on Tuesday. Maybe we'll get some shorts out of this week. I'm not sure. Next week we're definitely going to be able to make some shorts. I'm confident out of that. So that's something to look forward to. By the way, I also found out on CapCut when it does the long video creating the shorts, it uses AI tokens to do that. So I've purchased additional AI tokens ahead of time so that we have more options available.
Oh, okay.
So uh, even though I haven't sold anything yet from the store, I'm investing back into the podcast.
It's an investment.
All right, so next week we're going to be talking about tools. Super excited about that. My Etsy store is in fact in the chat. Um, Right now it only has book nooks, but as the week goes on, I will be attaching Q forges that I think are special and worthy of attention to the channel. To the store to sell. And as I experiment with this printer and more experimentation with the Cheaty with different materials, I'm hoping to get some more stuff I can report on as far as like quality differences between them. And oh, I forgot to mention. Remember the basketballs?
Oh yeah, the airless basketballs.
Okay, so uh, they finished printing while I was at work, and because they're TPU, so are the supports. Okay, they are super rubberized and very, very difficult to tear or cut or anything. My number one honor student, the one who donated the resin printer to me, um, she has taken the basketballs and she is attempting in her spare time to remove the supports. So if we can get those off sometime soon, I will bring those back to display. The tops of the basketballs looked fantastic. Now, granted, the supports are printed in the middle of the basketball. There's nothing that can be done about that. They're going to stay in the basketball. They're just going to weigh it down. Okay.
Hmm.
It's still an airless basketball. It felt fantastic. Like you push it in and it felt like a fully inflated basketball. Okay.
Oh,
But
nice.
the supports were nightmarish to try and peel off.
I
So,
bet.
yeah, she's going to try and use like a heat gun and some other methods to try and remove it. She was super excited because she's never worked with TPU before. So, yeah, she's doing that thing, which we'll see how it comes out. Um, I'm going to be focused by next week. I will have figured out how to do 2D signage, and I will explain that process and what it took to figure it out. And I will have a couple of examples, hopefully, by the end of the week that I'll be able to demonstrate, my proficiency with it. But I love the 2D signage with the 3D printer. Absolutely
Yep.
adore it. So, especially on the transfer plates, I think it is without a doubt the best medium for it. And yeah, so plus my huge project that I'm working on hopefully will be ready by the end of the week. So I'm super busy this week. Uh,
Yeah. We got a lot.
got a lot going on. So that's it for me. I think that's it for you.
That
Uh,
is.
all right. So make sure if you want to listen to this that you check out one of the podcast channels, okay, on the various services that it's available. Um, again, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and um, iHeartRadio. Okay. Also YouTube. Check it out for the videos. Check it out for the shorts. Anything that gets made. Also check out my daily VODs that I'm going to be making throughout the week, only on the YouTube channel, talking about the progress that I have going on and whether or not any sales are happening and all that other stuff. Um, that is starting tomorrow. Okay, I will be filming it, recording it, and posting it same day. So I'm committing myself to getting at least 4, maybe even 5. We'll see how it works out. But yeah, there we go. So that's going to wrap it up for this week. And I think we avoided bloating downtime like we've done in the past a little bit. I think we're getting a little more efficient with this. And
Yep.
yeah, so there you go. Bye. That's it for
All
me.
right. Yeah. That's it.
Terrible
Yeah.
close, but
That's it for the week. Yeah.